I get asked good questions, you know what I'm saying? They're not really elaborate questions. Sometimes they're just simple questions like, why do I feel like I have low on energy? You know what I'm saying? And what can I take to get more energy? And the big problem here is that question. You ask, what can I take to get more energy? What can I eat to have more energy? And in actuality, aside from the diet part, okay, and we can always look at the common sense of things when it comes down to, like, you know, proper breathing and diet and whatnot, but we'll go into the little areas step by step so we can kind of pinpoint where it is that we're going at with this. But when you're not breathing properly, you can also feel very tired and low energy, low focus and whatnot. If somebody's deprived of oxygen, okay, they are basically feeling like they're gonna pass out. That's why when they try to keep you alive, they put oxygen masks on and whatnot. Or, you know what I'm saying, like if the air pressure in an airplane, or like let's say the conditions in the atmosphere change in the airplane, you got to put your oxygen mask on. It basically keeps you awake and alive and aware, you know what I'm saying, especially through times where you may hyperventilate, you know what I'm saying. So oxygen is very important, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes we can't breathe properly because we are basically tensed up in certain areas. And you can actually pinpoint these little things when you're meditating or when you're doing like total body awareness. Like, you know, I'll be in the zone, but then I'll put my awareness back to the body and I'll notice that I'm tense in certain areas, you know what I'm saying? Like certain areas that you can actually visualize you putting a golden light to that specific area and it kind of melts that tension away. But you can pinpoint these things, and I'll make a separate video as to what each area of the body when they're tensed and what you may be holding in that specific area means. But I'm not going to do it here because it would make this video too long, and I just want to stay on topic with this one because sometimes I do go all over the place. But you have to know for yourself why you hold certain tenses in your area. Like for example, like there's moments where my solar plexus I may feel tense, and I'll pinpoint it through meditation, you know what I'm saying? Like I'll be like, oh shit, my solar plexus is tense, and then all of a sudden I visualize a golden light there. But the more I focus on that specific area, certain things start surfacing up, and you can kind of get an idea of what it is that's going on and why you have a tension built up there. It could even be your fingers, but you want to make sure that energy is flowing through your entire body. Every little point in your body, you want it to make sure that it's relaxed, especially when you're trying to do meditation, you know what I'm saying? The more still you are, the better the experience, you know what I'm saying? So, because there's moments where if I come out of body and I feel like I'm in a tense position, or I'm feeling like I'm a little bit uncomfortable, literally when I'm outside of my body, I feel like I'm like, if I'm sleeping like this and I'm outside my body, I literally am outside my body and I feel like I can't move my head for some reason, you know what I'm saying? So the more relaxed your body is, the easier your experience, because you're basically hardwired. I see it like as if you were hardwired together, you know what I'm saying? That's the oxygen part of things. Cheers. I always want to make sure you guys know when I'm actually drinking alcohol. This is red wine, but yeah, as you can see, cheers. And just in case I slur my words, you know what I'm saying? Let's go into the hydration part of things. If you look at hydration basically, if you look at hydration, is H2O, hydrogen, all right? Two hydrogen molecules with an oxygen molecule. So you see an oxygen molecule there again, right? H2O, right? So you have oxygen in water. So this is basically more oxygen to keep you awake and aware and alive. You know what I'm saying? Now, the water part is a little bit misunderstood with certain people, because the problem here is that people think that they can drink like 5 gallons of water a day and they're really hydrated, but they're not. See, when you do that, you notice how you're peeing very, very clear once you drink this much water. It's like, I use the analogy of a potted plant. Like when I have a potted plant, all right, and it's really hot out in my garden, and I just dump a whole gallon of water in one of my plants, and all that water is basically just coming out the bottom. The majority of the water that I poured on that pot is going to come out the bottom. And basically in 30 minutes, because of the heat, that plant's going to be dry again. And let's say if I put a drip irrigation system where it's basically feeding that plant in drips little by little, right? The water is basically being more absorbed by the plant than if I was to just dump a whole gallon of water in a pot, you know what I'm saying? Or even in the garden or whatnot. See, when you have an entire forest or a garden, you know what I'm saying? Like you have more of an area where you have depth to this shit, you know what I'm saying? We look like more like we're potted plants here in this reality, you know what I'm saying, until we can actually become a little bit more aware that we are all just one, and we are all having our own individual experience, and we're all in our own little potted plants. And basically the drip irrigation part, I look at it like this, man. When you eating water foods such as like watermelons, cantaloupes, honeydew, grapes, these things are actually hydrating you on a deeper level than water does. You get what I'm saying? Because if you're peeing very clear, that's not even necessarily good for you when you're peeing very clear. A lot of people think that it's basically, flushing out their system, but in actuality, you're actually not really doing good by your kidneys. You know what I'm saying? Because in order for your kidneys to filter properly, you don't want to be flushing your kidneys out like that. You know what I'm saying? So when you eat fruits, these are water foods, and these have all the correct minerals in these particular fruits. And not only that, but the water in there is actually distilled water. But distilled water has a cleansing effect, right? Distilled water tends to cleanse out inorganic minerals out of the body. So if you're cleansing out the inorganic minerals out of the body by the alkaline water that you all claim to drink, it's actually cleaning out those inorganic minerals and replacing it with the organic minerals that these fruits are actually giving you. And even better is if you're growing them in your own garden. Okay, so that's a little important thing to take into account, where if you're eating too much dead flesh like acid foods or omega-6 driven foods, then I want you to think about it like this. Blood is formed in the bone marrow, okay? When you're eating too much acidic foods, all right, your body utilizes one of the most abundant elements in the body, which is calcium, as a buffering system to try to neutralize these acids that you're creating by, not knowing how to neutralize them after you work out, or basically neutralize them, from all this crazy acidic diet that you're having, that, you know what I'm saying, it starts to compromise your bone health. And then this is where we start to literally be dehydrated there too. Now, you have to understand, when the kidneys aren't functioning properly, or the adrenals are fatigued and whatnot, you start to create lymphatic stagnation, where you start to create a very detrimental environment in your body, because everything basically has to move. And if the sewer system is blocked up, it's no different than if the sewer system is blocked up in your home, then it's going to smell and reek of hell, because things aren't being wasted or exposed of properly. You know what I'm saying? So this is why the putrefaction and fermentation thing, we start to talk about we are what we eat and whatnot. And if you're eating a lot of dead flesh, then you may feel low on energy because you're just basically dead meat. You know what I'm saying? So when you eat living foods, not only is it doing something of a physical chemistry to you, but it's also holding a vibration and a frequency where once you pull it out of the vine, it's being charged by the sun, and it is coming off the vine. It is still alive. You know what I'm saying? And when you're eating these fruits, you're increasing the vibration of the body. You know what I'm saying? And you're also flushing the body out of toxins, because these are water foods. When you go into the shower, you wash your ass with water. You don't wash it with oils, right? So that's why you actually cleanse out your body. And eliminating these toxins, you believe it or not, it opens up your perception to your reality, and it actually increases and enhances your spirituality as well. These are things for you to have to try out. It's not something that I'm telling you and you take my word for it. You know what I'm saying? Do your own experiments, and then you can come out with the wisdom to talk about it on camera. Because I've been through these experiences where I've been through the lowest of the lows, eating the worst of the worst, protein and protein and protein, and acids after acids, and then all of a sudden I went into changing the diet, and it's basically a focus and a really a deep wanting of what it is that you want to do, and basically these things start to present themselves to you in a very favorable way. You know what I'm saying? So that's another little way that you can increase energy. Aside from the breathing and the hydration, it's basically coming down to attention as well. So if your attention is constantly outside of yourself, to look for, you see, when you eat food, right, the body is energized, right? But some of the foods we eat are very taxing on the body, to the point where some foods actually make you yawn and feel lethargic. And why is that? I thought food was supposed to give you energy, right? So if you're eating certain foods like burger and fries, you'll notice that you'll yawn and you'll feel very lethargic afterwards, right? But when you're eating lighter foods, or even not eating at all, you'll notice that you'll actually have a lot more energy. So when it comes down to what the hell was I saying? So the hydration, the breathing, and then the information part. Okay, so when you're constantly looking outside of yourself for information, or depending on certain people to give you the answers to what it is that you're trying to do. You're putting yourself outside of yourself, and you are basically giving your power away. Okay? This is you giving your energy away. And we do this, not we, because I don't do this, but giving your power away to religion, giving your power away to doctors, where if you have a problem, the first thing you want to do is, how can I need to go to a doctor, rather than saying to yourself, how can I fix this, and actually figure it out for yourself. Do you notice that when you do something, like let's say, for example, you can overcome a fear, or let's say if you can problem solve something and you did it yourself, even though the information was already out there, because I've made this example before in my previous videos, where there's things I've said on camera that I have literally figured out myself, but I've already, and I thought I figured like something new out, but I realized that that information was still out, was already out there. It didn't discourage me, because I said to myself, you know what? If it wasn't out there, I figured this shit out myself, and I felt way more empowered. So these things empower you and give you more energy. You know what I'm saying? And if you're constantly, if you can't control your mentalities, this is another one. If you can't control your mentalities, this is kind of like, I look at it like if you have a hole in your gas tank, right? Because all these thoughts drain your energy little by little by little by little by little. And you start to realize that you start creating your reality a certain way, and you don't even realize why you're living a certain experience. And the reason that it's happening is because of the frequency and vibration you're in. And these thoughts that are playing in your mind without you being any kind of aware of them, they're actually creating your reality. You know what I'm saying? So these little things are very important to pay attention to, and you will feel with way more energy. All right. Now, another reason you may have low energy, all right, your gut microbiome is off. So we start to look at B12, for example, which is actually a bacteria. This bacteria in your stomach cannot be housed. A lot of people think they're deficient in this particular bacteria that we call a vitamin, but you're really not deficient. You just cannot house it, because you see, you can literally live on 8 to 12 micrograms of B12 in your system, and that's basically all determined by the intrinsic factor in the body. Okay, so if the intrinsic factor is compromised, which is basically the environment, all right, these bacteria cannot live in your system. It's no different than if I put humans on Mars or in another planet. They cannot live there because that environment is not suitable for them. So being one with nature is basically you having your system in tune with nature, because you're exposed to bacteria, viruses, and all these things outside of yourself every day, which is basically nothing but you, which is why you shouldn't be afraid of no viruses or bacteria or anything like that outside of you, because it's basically you pushed inside out. So you're supposed to be able to communicate with the shit outside of you, and it's going to be an informational center for you, like it's working in symbiosis with your body. Okay, so what it's doing is it's actually going to turn on your DNA to help you remember who the fuck you are and why you're here through this vessel, because that's what you're doing. You're experiencing this reality through this vessel, right? So you animate your spirit and take form and shape with this vessel, and that's how you animate your character here. You know what I'm saying? Now, the character that you create for you, I mean, that's all planetary alignments and whatnot. But once again, once we're aware of how these energies are utilized and how, the energies that are actually in play in your external environment, which is basically the point in space you were born in, if you know about these things and start to learn how to align yourself with them, then these things could be used as tools and not use you. That's why I made the video before about the addiction part, where if you're not aware of these addictions are basically just energies that we don't look at as bad or good, because through the bad things, you can still learn something. Basically how I learned it through addictions is how I figured this shit out. You know what I'm saying? And when you have certain addictions and you come out with certain strategies and techniques based on what you've picked up out here as information, you know what I'm saying, and put them into practice, they become wisdom, and then you already know they work or if they don't work for you. You know what I'm saying? Or you could tweak your own shit around. That's like if somebody's telling me how to work out in the gym, and you know what I'm saying, a workout doesn't work out for me, but I change the form just a little bit and it works out better for me, then I'm going to tweak it from what I've learned from, the person that taught me how to do a specific exercise. But the fact that my body is probably shorter than his or a lot stockier than that person, the tweaking of the angle just a little bit made such a big difference in the type of nitric oxide that I got in the body, the type of burn that I felt, you know what I'm saying, to me being able to control that catabolic phase, and then, you know what I'm saying, learn the art of recovery to properly build. You know what I'm saying? Now, another way you can also get energy, I'm going to get off the topic real quick just to cover this part before I forget, but another way that you can also get energy is you control that catabolic phase, the breaking down phase. Because here's the thing though, if you're going to fast, or if you're going to detox on like melons and grapes, you're going to break down, meaning that you're going to lose weight. You're going to lose muscle mass. You're going to lose a lot of the gains that you say, I don't want to lose my gains or whatnot. But here's the thing though, you control that catabolic phase, And then once you cleanse your body out, you can start building it again. But putting the proper fuel in there, you're going to have a much stronger, more durable body that you did before you did that, where you had underlying conditions, even though you physically looked appealing. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't mean that you're necessarily healthy from the inside out, and only you can pretty much know that. Or a neurologist, if they read your eyes, they can actually tell your experience, because the eyes are the windows to the soul, and all the organs, everything is basically mapped out from the eyes, where I can see your entire universe from the eyes. You know what I'm saying? So this is why it's important to be able to control that catabolic phase, because if not, then your body will force you into slowing down and going into a catabolic phase. That's why sometimes you may, create a condition. I mean, something develops within you to, give you, let's say, diarrhea, which is a natural detox right there. And also, the appendix will repopulate the gut microbiome when you do go through, diarrhea conditions and whatnot. But you will also be forced to be in bed and not have an appetite. So you're forced to slow down and also not eat. So, and now that's one way that the catabolic phase will arise if you don't properly try to at least manipulate this catabolic phase yourself. Now, even through these little detoxes, you may stimulate an immune response and you may have these symptoms, but that's just part of the healing. You know what I'm saying? The healing sometimes doesn't really feel comfortable. That's why when you go through, shadow work and whatnot, these things don't really feel too good. Some people run away from them, when in actuality it's just about taking your time and patience, because you are time. You know what I'm saying? And you just basically control the heart rate of things, because if you are basically taken out of or rattled, then your heart rate frequency will no longer be in tune, and now you're basically open for even potentially attacks. You know what I'm saying? Now, another way that your catabolic phase can be unfavorable is when you don't address the fact that you have an issue, or you're not aware of it, and these conditions go on for so long that you will actually start creating malabsorption. And now malabsorption, you'll lose a shitload of weight. You know what I'm saying? You start to, man, why am I losing so much weight? I'm eating fine, I'm working out, but I somehow am losing weight. And that's all due to malabsorption. All these things are all going to be manifested as low energy, right? Now, kids, let me go back to the B12 topic. Kids, for example, and by the way, the malabsorption, that's going to be due to, your gastrointestinal walls being all jacked up. And that's why I'm going to go back into the topic of B12. Because if your gastrointestinal walls are all jacked up, that's basically your petri dish being compromised, and your bacteria can no longer live there. You know what I'm saying? The environments are no longer suitable. So now, the reason why the B12 is so important, because B12, for example, is responsible for neurological functions, right? Meanwhile, neurological functions are up here, which means that there is basically a signal from the brain to the stomach, which is why people tell you to eat slower, so it gives the stomach a chance to tell the brain that it's full. You know what I'm saying? So, but that also takes time. That's why I said everything takes a little bit of time. You just got to make sure you understand this and take your time. Patience is a virtue. You know what I'm saying? So, when this B12 cannot be housed in your body, you're going to think that you're deficient, and you think that it's just putting more that's going to fix the problem. That's why if you're low on energy, putting things in is not the problem. All right? I mean, it's not the solution. The solution is going to be you figuring out why you have low B12 to begin with. You know what I'm saying? That's going to be the first, not B12, low energy to begin with. And it could be all these factors that I just mentioned in this video. You know what I'm saying? Now, if your B12 is low, you definitely are not being able to house B12, because there's a lot of people who even take up to, I just told you 8 to 12 you can live with for several years, but some people can't even, they'll take 2,500 micrograms to 5,000 micrograms of B12 in pill form, and they still can't, they still deficient. You know what I'm saying? And that's ludicrous. And some people they get injections and they still B12 deficient. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, there's different kinds of B12, like methylglobulin and all that, but you have to understand all these things are just considered isolates. Like vitamin C, like for example, if your bone health is compromised, the first thing people want to do is take calcium. And calcium is actually a vitamin that cannot be taken in calcium citrate or calcium carbonate or nothing like that, because it needs potassium, it needs vitamin D, it needs vitamin K, it needs a bunch of things like magnesium for it to even absorb in the body. You know what I'm saying? If not, it'll start calcifying in different areas of the body. You know what I'm saying? Now, let me explain to you why the B12, okay, it is important and why it works in symbiosis with the external environment, because this bacteria outside is basically you pushed out. Because you see, when you go out in nature, you're getting sunlight on your skin, okay? This is the same analogy I've used with the trees. When you have the trees in nature, okay, the trees in nature, and I'm gonna make separate videos where I may talk about these little topics with shorter videos, just in case somebody can't watch 20 because their attention span is too low. So if you've made it this far, you know, congratulations and very good for you. You actually want to learn something about how to have more energy. But when you get sunlight, this actually is helping the bacteria inside your gut, okay? And in turn, that bacteria inside your gut is able to help that D3, which is actually a hormone, it's not a vitamin either, to produce on the skin. Now, the only thing that can interrupt this production on top of the skin is if you have sunglasses on, because you see, everything works in harmony. If your eyes are tricked into thinking that it is actually darker outside, then your body is not going to be buffered and primed into actually trying to process this D3 on the skin, because it thinks that it's actually darker or night outside. So the proper elixirs weren't produced in the body, which is why it's important to know that every single elixir is possible. Like everything that you depend on in supplement form or in big pharma, you are big pharma. It is all produced in the body. You just have to know how to do it by breathing properly and the way your awareness of it, and how to properly set yourself in the right environment with the right conditions in order for this to happen. It's like the mycelium network is nothing but the root system for the mushrooms. You know what I'm saying? The mushrooms won't come out if the conditions aren't right, and mushrooms can give you an altered state of consciousness. You know what I'm saying? But basically, that's what's happening. Like in trees, that mycelium network is intertwined in the root system. It feeds the tree from underneath. But that mycelium network needs to stay underground where it's moist and cooler. And in turn, that tree needs that mycelium network because it's feeding the tree from down under. So the tree, it gets the sunlight, the sugars and the energy from the sun brings it down to that mycelium network. So there's a symbiotic relationship actually going on there. And this is why I tell you that what's happening in the gut is working in symbiosis with your skin, which is nothing but your third kidney. And why your kidney health and your adrenals are very important to keep healthy, which I'll make another video on. But there's also a symbiotic relationship between what's going on in the root system, which is your root chakra, to the crown chakra. You know what I'm saying? So if you're trying to access universal energy or whatnot, you know what I'm saying, and your root chakra is out of balance, or you're too in the material, because the root chakra could just be you being too in the material. And then your perception of this reality would just be that this is so real to you that your perception of what can happen metaphysically is not even open to you, because you're not letting it flow into you. You're closed-minded to it. So closed-minded means you closed your crown chakra. You know what I'm saying? The conditions aren't right. So you have to understand all these things are possible, but with you see, the intellect, okay, needs wisdom. Wisdom doesn't need the intellect. You can intellectually know all this, but once you start to apply it, then you got the hands-on experience, then you can start to change your reality. Now, I know I went all over the place with this video, but I definitely want to, give you a last little cheers, red wine. And I'm going to make more videos with these topics a lot shorter. So I may repeat into other videos just for the ones who have, shorter attention span, because I know I wanted to make this video short, but it also goes into many different avenues why you may have low energy. And I hope I addressed it all here. If not, then I'll definitely address it in another video. So I got you. I definitely got you. Cheers to you. Everybody, peace, love, abundance, and prosperity to everybody here that made it this far, and even the ones that didn't make it this far. Okay. Like, share, and subscribe if you liked it, and if not, then don't. But we will definitely talk soon.